Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. I'm super excited to share today's video with you because I'm going to be making 4 freezer meals from Pioneer Woman. We are going to be making some lasagna as well as some really crispy and delicious French toast sticks. I'm also going to be making a sour cream noodle bake, which I have made before and is really delicious, and a casserole called King Ranch chicken. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna make the Pioneer Woman's sour cream noodle bake, and I've made this before, but it's been quite a while. This is really delicious, and it's a really great freezer meal. So what you'll need for this is some green onions, some shredded sharp cheddar cheese. I just have a little bit off a block of Cabot that I got from Sam's Club, about 1.25 pounds of ground beef, 1 can of tomato sauce, salt, pepper, some crushed red pepper flakes, 8 ounces of egg noodles, some cottage cheese, and some sour cream. Okay, so I've got my water boiling here for the noodles. I'm just gonna put those in and boil them for about 7 to 8 minutes. Okay, and then I've got a skillet over here. I'm gonna go ahead and add my ground beef and just saute this until it is cooked through. While the beef is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and slice up my green onions. I need about half a cup of these. Okay, so my ground beef is done. I went ahead and basically just drained it on a paper towel here. I'm gonna put it back into the skillet. We're gonna add 1 can of tomato sauce. All right, we're gonna add half a teaspoon of salt and also some pepper. And then I'm just gonna stir this and simmer it for a bit until it comes together. All right, so I've got my egg noodles in here. I went ahead and drained them, put them back in the pot. So I'm going to add half a cup of sour cream. I need 1¼ cups of cottage cheese, so I'm just gonna use the same measuring cup. And then I'm gonna give that a stir. Just be gentle, obviously, with the egg noodles. You don't wanna break them up too much. And then we're gonna add our half a cup of green onions, some black pepper, and then just a pinch of red pepper flakes. So this particular recipe serves 8, but what I'm gonna do is make them in 2 of these round freezer pans. I got these at Sam's and they've actually been coming in really handy to make smaller batches of frozen things like this. I feel like if I made this in a really large casserole, like, I don't know, my kids do like this, I should say that, but since I mix the green onions in with it, they're gonna be like, whatever. So I think I'm just gonna do 1 pan I'll leave here, like for Adam and I to have some time, and then another one maybe I'll give to my stepdad since I've been giving him food over the last couple weeks. So I sprayed my pans. Basically what I'm gonna do is take half of the noodle mixture in each pan, but I'm gonna layer it with the meat sauce. So it should be actually pretty simple to do with the amount that I've got here. Okay, so I've got a layer of noodles and the cottage cheese mixture in the bottom here. And then I'm gonna layer in some of the meat and tomato sauce mixture. This recipe is actually, like, the ingredients are very simple, so you wouldn't necessarily think that it would be, you know, good, but it's delicious. I really like it. It kind of, in a way, it kind of reminds me of lasagna. Obviously not the same because there's no like ricotta or Parmesan in it, and it's not quite as, you know, like complex of flavors, but it's really, really good. Okay, so in here I've got noodles and meat sauce, and next I'm gonna put in a layer of cheddar cheese. Okay, and then I've got the rest of the noodles, so I'm gonna go ahead and put another layer of those. All right, and then the rest of the meat sauce goes on top of that. Let's spread this out. Okay, and then the last layer is just another sprinkle of shredded cheddar on the top. All right, and then I have a few extra green onions, so I'm gonna just sprinkle a tiny little bit on the top as well. Okay, so here are what my sour cream noodle bake freezer meals look like. Like I said, you can make these in a larger container too. It's really great to take to someone, like they just had a baby or if they need food or something like that. To bake these, you would bake them at about 350 degrees for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, probably closer to 30 if they're already frozen or refrigerated. I will link the recipe down below. There are instructions for freezing. Like I said, I've had this before and it's really delicious. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys the sour cream noodle bake after it's baked, what it looks like. So you can see here, again, this is a super simple dish, but it's very like good, simple comfort food. I would highly recommend it. I also think it's really kid friendly. Obviously, if your kids are like mine and they don't like green onions, then leave those out. It's still gonna be delicious, but highly recommend this recipe. Like I said, you can either bake it right after you assemble it, refrigerate it, freeze it, whatever you need to do, but it's really, really good. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that I've been working with them for a long time here on my channel, and even if I didn't work with them, I would still totally recommend their service without reservation. I love being able to use their app to order groceries that are really hard for me to find here in the Midwest. And other than that, they just have really good quality groceries and snacks and even home items and personal care items on their site. If you're not familiar with Thrive Market, they are on a mission to make healthy eating affordable for everyone. They have member-only prices, and they also deliver right to your door. You can shop from your couch, from the app. It's super convenient, and they always offer sales and specials and freebie items too, so make sure you sign up for their email list. One thing that's great about them is that orders over $49 are shipped free. They're also on a mission to be the world's first climate-positive grocery store, so I think that's great. They also have a Thrive Gives program. They offer a one-for-one membership, so for every paid membership, they sponsor a free one for a low-income family. They have a couple of different membership options. I always go with the annual membership. It comes out to less than $5 a month, but there is also a month-to-month option if you just want to try it out. But either way, they are offering my viewers a really great deal right now. They are actually offering 30% off your first order plus a free gift when you sign up with my link. It's thrivemarket.com/Jen Chapin. So make sure you check that out. Once again, you can get 30% off your first order, which is a huge discount, plus you can get a free gift. All right, so the next freezer meal that I'm going to make is actually a breakfast freezer meal. It's for these crunchy French toast sticks. So what you need is 6 eggs. I just have them cracked into a pie plate here. I have some half and half, some sugar. In this dish, I have some panko breadcrumbs. I get these from Thrive Market. I really like them because they are really like chunky and crispy breadcrumbs. So I've got half a cup in there. I'm going to add another 1 cup, and then to that I'm also going to add 1.5 cups of Captain Crunch cereal that I've crushed up. I've got some cinnamon, some vanilla, and some Texas toast bread. And then once we prepare the French toast sticks, we're going to put them on this rack and flash freeze them. Okay, so in with my eggs, I'm going to pour in my half a cup of half and half, and then I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup of white sugar. I'm going to add some vanilla, and then I'm going to sprinkle in half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, I'm gonna carefully whisk this so as not to try and make a mess outside of the pie plate. This whisk I have actually is a Pioneer Woman flat whisk, and it's very good for applications like this. Okay, so this is Texas toast bread. You can see that it's a little bit thicker than regular white bread. So what I'm gonna do is cut these into thirds so that basically you have these thick strips like this. And I'm gonna first dunk these in the egg mixture, and then I mixed the cereal with the panko breadcrumbs and the cinnamon and the sugar, and then I'm gonna lay them out on a rack. All right, so here is about half the batch of French toast sticks. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and put these in my deep freeze just like this for about 30 minutes to flash freeze them. And then after that, we can bag them up and put them in the freezer. And then when you want to cook them, you just bake them in the oven, which I kind of like because it saves on a lot of that oil from frying. So anyway, these look super delicious. I can't wait to try them. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these in the freezer. All right, so my French toast sticks have been in the freezer for about 40 minutes, and you can see that they're pretty much frozen solid now. So I'm just gonna transfer them to this Ziploc bag, and I went ahead and wrote the instructions on here for when I want to bake them, but I am gonna bake up a couple just so I can show you guys what they look like. All right, so we've got our French toast sticks here. I don't know, man, these smell delightful. I'm assuming they taste as good as they smell. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of syrup. Giving these to kids, they also like have a lot of fun dipping them too. All right, let's give it a taste. Super crunchy. Yeah, for sure. Those are really good. Definitely try this recipe. I can't wait to share them with my kids for breakfast. Okay, so lasagna is a perfect freezer meal recipe, and you guys know that I volunteer for Lasagna Love, so I'm always making lasagnas around here, but I've never made Pioneer Woman's recipe, so that's what we're gonna try today. I've got a big Dutch oven here with 3 pounds of ground beef in it. I'll link the original recipe, all of these recipes down below. Unfortunately, this recipe does call for a pound of hot Italian sausage, which I thought I had some ground sausage in my freezer, but I don't, so we're just gonna improvise. I think the original recipe called for 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 pound of sausage. So I'm just using 3 pounds of ground beef, and in here I've got about 4 cloves of garlic that I crushed in. So I'm just gonna cook this over about medium-high heat until it is browned and crumbled, and then we'll mix in the tomatoes. So I've got 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of tomato paste, and then I'm gonna add some extra marinara sauce just because I have it in the fridge and I want to use it up. Okay, so her recipe does call to boil the noodles, but I don't prefer to do that because I find that it gets mushy, especially since I'm not going to be baking this right away. So I have my kettle here, and I just put my lasagna noodles in like a 9x13 dish and pour some boiling hot water over them, and then I just let these sit for, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes until they soften up, and then I can use them in the lasagna. Okay, so my ground beef is cooked. I added 6 ounces of tomato paste, and I'm going to go ahead and add both of these cans of petite diced tomatoes with the juice. And then I'm just gonna stir this up, put the lid on it, season it, and simmer it for about 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna chop up some fresh herbs. I wanted to show you guys this new herb keeper that I got. I can put a link to it down below, but basically it's it's sort of like a vase kind of, and then it has a lid on it that flips up, but I've got all of my herbs in there with water on the bottom, but it's been working really well to keep all of my stuff fresh. Like this basil I bought probably almost a week ago, and it's still really fresh. So I'm going to go ahead and chop the herbs up. For this recipe, I need some fresh basil and some fresh parsley. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a mince. And I'm just gonna grab a handful of flat leaf parsley. I'm not measuring this. I think the recipe says a quarter cup maybe. We're gonna use part of these herbs in the meat sauce mixture and then part of them in the cheese mixture. This particular recipe from Pioneer Woman does not call for ricotta. It just calls for cottage cheese mixed with Parmesan. So we're gonna go ahead and follow her recipe this time. Okay, so for the cheese filling, I'm gonna need 2 eggs. So I'm just gonna crack those into a bowl here so I can mix everything up. I'm gonna add 3 cups of cottage cheese, 1 cup of grated Parmesan. This one is like a little bit clumpy, so I'm gonna try to kind of get some of those out before I mix it up. All right, and then to this, I'm gonna add half of my chopped herb mixture. So that is the basil and the parsley, and just give that a stir. Okay, so here's my meat sauce after it's been simmering for about 45 minutes. I'm gonna stir in my fresh herbs, the rest of that parsley and basil. I'll let this cool a little bit and then give it a taste just to make sure that it doesn't need any more salt or pepper, and that is done. Okay, so we're gonna start assembling this lasagna. Since I'm giving this one away, I'm using a foil pan. However, if I were making a freezer meal, I would obviously probably be using a foil pan as well. So I'm gonna start out with just a little bit of meat sauce in the bottom. Now, I did add some more seasoning to this. I think that's one of the things that's really important when you're cooking, is to make sure you season everything to your taste, because recipes are obviously written for the masses, but they're also very individualized. So, you know, you may like things spicier or saltier or sweeter than I do. I went ahead and added a teaspoon of sugar and a teaspoon of salt to that meat sauce because I just felt like it was too bland. And also, since we just used tomatoes, I thought it was very acidic. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, that sweetness of the tomatoes came out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some cottage cheese mixture on the noodles and spread this out. And then we're gonna sprinkle on some mozzarella cheese. The original recipe calls for sliced mozzarella, like the type that is like you know, you put on sandwiches. I have never been able to find that where I live, like deli sliced mozzarella. I guess I could probably look at the deli counter and see if I could get it there, but I've never found it pre-packaged. Okay, so I'm gonna add another layer of the meat mixture on here. I feel like 3 pounds of meat is a lot for one lasagna. What do you guys think? I normally use maybe 1 to 1.5 pounds of meat for one lasagna. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys too the noodles. You see, I just basically soak them in boiling water, and they're very pliable and soft, but they're not cooked through. And that's the way I like to do them when I make lasagna, because I find that obviously they will cook the rest of the way through in the oven. But sometimes I find when I boil the noodles prior to making the lasagna, once I bake it, it becomes really mushy, like the noodles become mushy. And Adam actually commented the last time I did that and boiled my noodles, he's like, this seems like mushy. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? So I stopped doing that. Actually, I'm just gonna add the rest of the cottage cheese mixture. Okay, and then I'm gonna add some more of the meat sauce. For freezing lasagna, you can go ahead and freeze it before you bake it. I personally think that that is what gives the best results. And then when you're ready to bake it, you can just, you know, take it out of the freezer. Some people say that you can bake it from frozen, which I'm sure would work out just fine. I tend to thaw it out before, but that's it. So we got cheese on there. So for the final layer, I'm just gonna do noodles. And as I'm removing these noodles from the water, I am just draining them on some paper towels, or drying them off on some paper towels rather. Okay, so the last step is I'm gonna sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese, and then I'm just gonna put a good handful of shredded cheese on the top. And what I will do is I will cover this with aluminum foil, but I will spray the aluminum foil first so that when they bake it, the cheese doesn't stick to it. And then I'll write instructions on the top for baking it, and I'll go ahead and deliver this later today. All right, so here's our completed lasagna. Definitely great for a freezer meal, a make-ahead meal. This will keep in the fridge, I would say, for probably about 3 days before you bake it. So even if you wanted to like meal prep this on the weekend, it would be perfect. Take it to someone who needs some food or just had a baby, and I will link the Lasagna Love website. Okay, we're gonna make the Pioneer Woman's King Ranch chicken. So this is actually a dish that I've never made before, and I've never had it. It does have directions in here for a freezer meal, and then also directions if you want to make them into enchiladas. So what you'll need is some cream of chicken soup, some cream of mushroom soup. You can find these on Thrive Market. I also have a can of Rotel, some chicken broth. I've got a jalapeno, 2 bell peppers, 1 yellow and 1 red, 1 onion. I've also got some cheese. We're gonna do a combination of sharp cheddar and Monterey Jack. I've got some shredded chicken here. The recipe says that you can use rotisserie chicken, but I always have chicken breast in the freezer, so I actually cooked this with some taco seasonings in the Instant Pot and shredded it myself. And then I've also got some corn tortillas. We'll be layering the casserole with those. And then some seasonings in this dish. I've got chili powder, cumin, salt, and pepper. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add both soups and the tomatoes to this bowl. It says that the mixture is gonna look weird, but don't be scared. Okay, we're gonna add our Rotel, whisk this up. I mean, it actually smells pretty good. Rotel smells really good anyway. Okay, and then we're gonna add our seasonings in here, and then 2 cups of chicken broth. Give this a whisk gently so we don't slosh it all over the place. Okay, I'm gonna add my shredded chicken. I think if I remember correctly, I used maybe like 4 small chicken breasts. Like I said, you can also use 1 whole rotisserie chicken, just whatever works best for you. All right, so next we're just gonna go ahead and chop up our veggies. So I've got 1 yellow bell pepper, 1 red bell pepper, and then I've got also 1 jalapeno and 1 onion. So I'm just gonna give these a dice, and then these are gonna be layered in with the casserole. This is kind of like a layered casserole, so what you end up doing is tearing up the tortillas and then layering them with like the chicken and the peppers and the cheese. I mean, it sounds really good. Have you guys had this before, this King Ranch chicken? I've heard of it a lot. I've just never made it, so I'm kind of excited to see how it turns out. All right, so there's our veggies chopped up. I think we're ready to start layering now. Okay, so I've got a foil pan here, and what I'm going to do is take half of the corn tortillas, and we're just gonna tear these into pieces and layer those on the bottom of the pan. We're gonna put in half of the chicken mixture, kind of trying to make sure everything gets even, layered evenly. I'm gonna sprinkle with half of the onion, pepper, and jalapeno mixture. I just dropped an onion on the floor. I highly doubt Murphy's gonna want that. I'm gonna sprinkle on some cheese. This is Monterey Jack cheese that I shredded, and then I'm also gonna layer that with a little bit of the cheddar as well. Okay, and then we're gonna repeat the layers. So another layer of corn tortillas, the rest of the chicken. I bet this would be good with like beans and corn in it too, since you've got kind of like this, you know, Tex-Mex fiesta feel going on. I'm gonna put on our onions and peppers and the rest of the cheese. I kind of got the onions and the peppers and the cheese mixed together, but oh well. It's all going to the same place, right? Okay, I'm just gonna spread this cheese out over the top. Sprinkle with a little cheddar. Okay, now this is actually the point where you would freeze this. So what you would do is put foil on this, freeze it until it's frozen solid, and then when it's ready to bake, take it out of the freezer, bake it at 350 until it's heated through. I'm actually going to bake this right now because I want to show you guys what it looks like. So I'm gonna put this in the oven for 45 minutes, covered, take off the foil, bake it for another 15. All right, so here is the King Ranch chicken. I just took it out of the oven about 10 minutes ago. This looks delicious. I did top it with some cilantro, and we'll probably eat this with some sour cream and maybe a salad on the side, but definitely let it sit. I'm actually probably gonna let this sit for another 10 minutes before I cut into it. Otherwise, you know, with casseroles, obviously it'll be super soupy. Is that even? Is that a word? But this looks and smells delicious. Highly recommend this recipe. The only thing I might do differently next time is maybe saute the onions and the peppers, just because I prefer mine to be a little bit softer. And I might try it out as enchiladas too, but either way, delicious. Highly recommend. Good job, Pioneer Woman. All right, I just wanted to thank you guys for being here today watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you've tried any of these recipes or want to try any of them, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out Thrive Market. Once again, they're offering that great deal right now, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. I'll have the link in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.